Well, hello, hello. Good afternoon. Good evening. This is Kania Kennedy, and this is the Fertility Family Live. I'm super excited to be here. This is our weekly live session where we bring to you one of the members of the Fertility Family professional team to share with you some great information about how best to prepare to have a happy, healthy pregnancy and birth. Today we have the pleasure of having with us our resident doula, Akilah Shahid. This diva I know and met personally a little over a year ago. Just a beautiful spirit, great energy. A little bit about her: she was born and raised in the East Bay area of California. And she has the nickname Black Panther Flower Child. And given the movie we just saw, one could only imagine what that means. But she got that from her dad. She always is looking to advocate for the rights of others, so it's no surprise that after she experienced some birthing injustice herself, that she has become an advocate for women of color to make sure that we have positive outcomes in our birthing process. She's worked for as the assistant director for a More Excellent Way Health organization, where she became a breastfeeding peer counselor, and she became introduced to the role of a doula. And so for the past 3 years, she's been assisting families and navigating through the medical care system and assisting people in their own spaces for home births. In the next 5 years, her plan is to be to become a traditional birth attendant or midwife, as you're also known, and so that she can encourage women to learn how to catch their own babies and have births that they've designed for themselves. She's a wonderful person. I'm so grateful for her being with us this evening. If you're not familiar with what this is all about, let me just share that the Fertility Family, we're an organization, we're just a group where we are committed to supporting one another and having happy, healthy pregnancies. We are for anyone who's looking to have a baby, but we specifically focus on mature women who may be 35 or older, who are wanting to conceive and carry naturally, but who may have some concerns about, or maybe just or may have already experienced some challenges with conceiving and carrying to term. For any couple who's experiencing fertility challenges and they're looking for some alternatives to some of the very expensive traditional medical practices that are out there, or just looking for some things to complement what they already may be doing. So it's not an either or, this is definitely an and conversation. And anyone who knows that they want to go about having a healthy, happy baby very naturally. And so they want to have some people to guide them through that process. We've got team members on board who can help with that. And then, like I said, anyone who knows that they're planning on having a baby wants to go into it with their mind, body, and spirit in alignment. The text that we use is A Naturopathic Approach to Fertility by Dr. Julissa Hernandez. She's actually one of the team members. This diva has been in the medical and the natural health profession for over 20 years. And she's right now 100% success rate working with couples who've experienced fertility challenges. Many times people who've tried everything else, and then they finally turn to nature, and then boom, nature delivers. So you may not have to go that whole circuitous route if you just start off with Mother Nature and let the divine get in there and make the difference. But either way, we're here for you when you're ready for us. Our doulas, last time we had our doula with us, she really explained to us what doulas do, because everyone's not familiar with it. And one of the things I can say I learned is that doulas have a role well before you actually conceive, and definitely before you're in the birthing room. So today she's going to share with us some of those things that a doula can assist you with while you're on the pathway to pregnancy and all the way through birth. I'm super excited to have her here with us. Without further ado, the fabulous Akilah Shahid. All right, Diva, don't forget to unmute your microphone and then we'll be ready for you.
All right, I believe I unmuted. Can you hear me?
You're good to go. You are good. Yes, ma'am.
All right, good evening and good afternoon, everyone. I am on the West Coast in California right now, but I'm really excited to talk about some comfort measures and also body preparation before you're thinking about conception, while you are pregnant, and then after, because we definitely want to get labor practiced. It is about endurance, ladies and gentlemen, and so let's definitely work our bodies up to delivering beautiful babies. First, I want to talk about wiggling while the wiggling's free. This is a beautiful picture of a pelvis. This is a woman's pelvis because there is a difference between a male pelvis and a woman's pelvis. The woman's pelvis is round or oval. It has a deeper sacrum and is shorter and flatter. It's less curved, allowing more room inside the pelvis, and the coccyx is more movable and shorter in the female pelvis. Why is this important? Well, unlike our counterparts, the male's pelvis is heart-shaped, and so it's a very, very narrow opening. Why? Because men don't deliver babies, so they don't have to worry about their pelvis widening, opening, or allowing anything to expel from it. Some awesome ways to keep our pelvis in a good, having a good range of motion is hip rolling. At the end of the presentation, I'm definitely going to be uploading some videos, and hopefully we have enough time, if I can get through this slideshow, where I can show you what hip rolling looks like. Whining and dancing, this is where we are squatting and bending, and we are circulating our hips so that we can open up those pelvises. Squats at 90-degree angles or greater are very, very good for body prep. So this is preparation of labor. Labor can sometimes take hours and sometimes days, and it's all natural and it's all good if you labor in 1 hour, if you labor in 7 hours, if you labor in 12 or 14. We definitely want to aim those hours down because it is taxing on our bodies. But once again, everybody's pregnancy is different and everybody's labor is different. So doing exercises like squats, getting your lunges in there, it definitely will assist you when labor comes around. And I'll explain why when we go over the comfort measures. Posture. Posture is very, very important. Like we heard over here about the female pelvis, is that it's round and it has a deeper sacrum. It's shorter, and so we definitely want to make sure that we are aligning our bodies in a healthy way so that we can use gravity to our best. Gravity is our best friend. Usually we don't think about gravity as our best friend because we think about our breasts, but when we're thinking about labor and we're thinking about opening that pelvis and we're thinking about pushing and expelling that child out, we definitely want gravity on our side. Sleeping positions. So when we're thinking about conceiving, I definitely want you to think about pregnancy and 9 months of not being able to close your legs. Some of us are lucky and we can stay in that great cradle position while we sleep. But most of us, especially when we hit 7 months, 6 to 7 months, we have to think about different sleeping positions because we need our sleep for labor. But a lot of us to the 8th and 9th month, we're not sleeping. We definitely aren't hitting REM sleep. And so we'll talk about sleeping positions a little bit later. And then swaying. Swaying is really good, especially before you're pregnant, to start practicing opening those hips. And so if you're reading or if you're watching television or you're knitting or something that you're stationary, I recommend switching out a chair and putting an exercise ball. I will show you what that looks like a little bit later, but an exercise ball, and you would just sway your hips around in a circle or from left to right so that you're practicing opening those hips up and it is comfortable. What else? So common comfort measures. So when we talk about comfort measures, we can talk about it in preconception and we can talk about it during labor. Practice makes permanence. And so we want to have our bodies remembering the emotions that we're trying to use during labor. And so some of my favorite ones, I just highlighted them right here, are the knee press. You can do this on your back or with a rebozo, and I'll explain in further slides. Hands and knees. This is excellent. A stretch. You can use it during labor with a massage and using sacral pressure. But while we're talking about preconception, we definitely want moms to get comfortable being on their hands and knees, and once again, opening and rotating those hips, getting used to a circular motion with your body. If you want to think about it, oh, can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah, I just had a quick question. Now,
absolutely.
Is this like when we're in yoga and we're doing like the cat-cow stretches?
Exactly. Your hands and knees, and I have a picture, yep, a little later, but that's what it is. And so it's once again trying to remember that our bodies are naturally designed for labor. And so if we tailor our exercises to a more feminine, and when I talk about feminine, we're talking about the female pelvis. It's a different shape. And so we need to make sure that we're doing exercises that cater to that fashion. And what do we want our pelvis to do? We want it to expand beautifully so that we can have our children naturally. Squatting is another awesome exercise, and it's also good during birth because once again, we want to have gravity on our side. Squatting, as far as building endurance, these comfort measures that I am going to show you, some of them will be taxing on your body if you're not used to being in these positions. Definitely when we are undergoing surges, or as we like to call them, contractions. I like to call them surges. Through our body, it's really important for us to learn how to relax. And so once again, we can use muscle memory to our advantage if we start doing exercises and stretching along the theme of labor comfort measures. So kneeling over the birth ball, this is excellent for that lower back. If you have lower back pain right now, or sometimes you get up and you find yourself having to twist and definitely hearing pops in the back, we all should be looking at chiropractics because they definitely allow us, give us assistance in aligning the spine, and that will help. And then the double hip squeeze. Oh, just when you see the picture and when you see the image, I have some awesome graphics. And then I also have some pictures that I took during a doula training where we focused on common comfort measures. So as we dig into this, the knee press. So during labor, this really, really helps because it allows gravity to assist in opening the pelvis. And then also the person that is pushing against your knees is assisting to open the hips and once again, bring the baby down through the cervix. If you're not pregnant yet, because that's our goal, practicing this without arms on a chair. And then you're going to put your legs back and kind of lean forward, and that will allow your hips a good range of motion to practice. Because once again, you're not going to be able to reach that range of motion once you're pregnant because you will be taking into account extra water weight and the relaxin, which is a beautiful hormone that goes through our bodies as pregnant women. We tend to stretch and we can actually injure ourselves if we overstretch. So really taking advantage of the flexibility within our bodies prior to having a child in there is really, really good when we're thinking about natural labor. Back massages. Who loves back massages? I recommend we get a lot of these before we're carrying 15 extra pounds, give or take, in our abdomens. Definitely helps during labor. When we're doing a back massage and you're seated on a chair like this, you want to focus on opening your hips. And so the massaging is pressing your hips forward so that you're opening and then you relax back into your contractions. Allowing someone to help push with pressure is really, really helpful. So for couples, this is definitely fun to practice before baby gets here, before we're in labor. It's definitely good to get comfortable in one of these positions, especially if mom has back labor. The double hip squeeze. I would like us to think about pressure versus endurance. So during labor, like I said, there are certain positions that you may be holding for 20 to 30 minutes. So right now, while we're preparing ourselves for labor and preparing ourselves for this beautiful process, let's practice holding these for maybe 5 to 10, up to 20 minutes. This is where it really helps when a doula is on your team, because she is well experienced, like myself, in holding certain positions like this for sometimes up to 2 hours, depending on mom's comfort level, depending on how she's progressing through the labor. We definitely want to think about endurance. So when you're thinking about applying pressure on the hips, so this position requires both hands on both sides of the hips. You're going to have one hand on your left hip and one on your right, and you're going to squeeze to try to put those hands together in an upward motion so that you're taking that pressure off and you're once again opening the pelvis. I will definitely go into detail in videos so that we are practicing this, but definitely remaining safe. Think about your knees. If you're going to use positions like this, a double hip squeeze, and you would prefer to be on your knees, just like with hands and knees, definitely think about cushions. Do you need cushions? Have you had surgery on your knee prior to it? Are you comfortable bending down for this amount of time? Because that can affect your labor and your ability to hold a comfortable position if now all of a sudden your knee is sore. And also think about the temperature and the ground. Where are you delivering? Once again, are you comfortable getting on the ground in the hospital? If you're going to do it at a birthing center, do they have enough room for you, your birthing team, and for you to do what you would like as far as exercises? So that one is definitely one of my favorite. But hands and knees, like Kania said, the cat stretch pose in yoga definitely is good preparation to get those muscles and those ligaments in your hips and in your pelvis used to moving around. I suggest having a chair nearby or stable support because once again, we want to practice endurance. So while you're looking at your favorite, I don't know, soap opera or your favorite television show or anything like that, time it so that you're really seeing, okay, I can do this for an hour. I can rock up and down for an hour. Do I need a chair? Will I need a break? Are my wrists hurting? How do my wrists feel? Because we have to take into consideration, once again, that we aren't always as active as we think we are when it comes to endurance. We're recommended to exercise for 30 minutes minimum a day. And so I definitely can guarantee that your labor most likely will take longer than 30 minutes. So once again, as you can see here, you can take breaks in your positions. You want to make sure that you support your wrists and that you continue to rotate your hips. So when you're at home, you can take out your yoga mat, get on the carpet, get on hands and knees, and once again, you're going to flex and just rotate your hips in a circle. Remember during labor that we want to rock with the contraction and not against it. Slow dancing is one of my favorite preparations, and of course you can do this at any gestational period. And for preparation, preconception, it's definitely fun. So really spice this area up and learn how to slow dance. If you don't already, be mindful of hand placement. So you want to think about where your labor could be. Some of us labor in the front, so that's around the area of our stomachs. Some of us labor in the back, and we have a lot of pressure in our back. And so as you can see, you can slow dance from the front, and you can also slow dance from the back. And depending on where mom's pain is or where her pressure is, that is where we want to press down, and we want to press against it. And we want to, because that allows the body to release those endorphins. So in preconception, once again, you can practice this. You want to slow dance. You want to get intimate with your partner. You want to get used to being, you want to practice dropping your weight on them so that they are used to carrying you. Because once again, when we think about the time and labor, we want to make sure that we both, and that your support team does not run out of energy for you. So I recommend a doula, especially when it comes for comfort measures, because you have someone else kind of taking over those shifts and also facilitating what may best suit mommy. So squatting, everybody loves those squats. Um, we are not squatting in heels, ladies, even though I heard that works a lot better. This particular squatting, we are going to stay in place. So instead of breaking your 90-degree and we're squatting and we're going up and down, nope, I would like you to look for a couch or your nearest wall. Squat all the way down until your bottom is touching the floor and see if you can rest there. See how feel how your hips, if they feel like they're gonna pop out of place, rise up a little bit, and then you can see that you need some practice. So we definitely want to be limber in our area because we want to stretch. What's at the bottom is our perineum. And so squatting assists in stretching the perineum. The perineum is the area of the body that is in between the anal hole, the rectal hole, and your vagina. And so along with coconut oil or olive oil, I recommend rubbing that while squatting. And so what that does is it gets the perineum ready to stretch. So we want to avoid ripping and we want to avoid tearing. We want to avoid episiotomies. Those are the cuts that sometimes are considered enforced when it looks like the mom's perineum is going to tear on its own. Right now, a lot of practitioners choose to perform episiotomies when it's not necessarily needed. And so we definitely want to prep mom's perineum. We want to let her staff know that mom is open to tearing naturally because those lacerations are a lot less painful and they heal a lot faster than episiotomies. So while squatting, you want to use a support system. As I said, a couch works. Definitely, if you're able to prop yourself up and watch a movie. You want to see how long you can sit, and this wants to become a comfortable way to sit. It should not hurt. If it hurts, I recommend you reset, which means stand back up, shake your legs out, and reevaluate the exercise. What can you do to lessen the pain? Where is the pain coming from? So I definitely recommend anyone consulting a physician if you are having pain while squatting. Once again, we want that bottom to hopefully hit the floor. If you're already comfortable with this position, I suggest you try to roll your hips and see what your range of motion is like there. The standing supported lunge. So this you can use a chair, you can use a stool if you have it, but make sure it's not the kind that rolls away. And it's a large ottoman type. You can also do it with your bed, depending on the size of your bed. But when we do this, we want to lean into the lunge, meaning whatever your foot is on that you have hiked up or propped up, you want to lean into that because you want to stretch, once again, your hips. And so this will assist. You want to look towards the chair. So if I was the woman or the beautiful, awesome little drawing we have here, I would be leaning forward into the chair and using the chair, the top of it, to hold and have support. Be very mindful while doing this. If there is no support behind the chair, be mindful of how much you're lunging so that you don't tip over. We definitely want to avoid that. When in this stance, I also encourage you to practice your hip rolls. And so hip rolls, you definitely want to, once again, assess your range of motion. It's all dependent upon you and what's comfortable. What we're trying to do is stretch your limits and build up some endurance because, once again, if you remember, we're going to be holding these positions for a while. This position is important because you can also transfer from the lunge position to sitting backwards in the chair and then go into that back massage. And so when we're thinking about these exercises and we're thinking about, we're visualizing how awesome your labor is going to be, and you're trying to figure out, dad, where, or partner, where am I going to fit in? How am I going to support? How am I going to, how am I going to contribute to this beautiful process of natural birth? That's our goal. That's what we want to get to. Well, these are the type of exercises that can definitely bring you guys together and then solidify that once birth and once labor takes place. So think about comfort measures and think about how you can transfer into them. So if you were backwards on the chair, you can also slide right off the chair and begin kneeling over a birth ball. So as you can see, there are two versions of the positions that you can do. When we were talking about swaying, you can also whine on the ball. So prior to being pregnant, it's very, very comfortable to sit on a birthing ball or the exercise ball and go in circular motions. So you're in a squatting position, you have your legs open, and the object of it is to deepen your squat and the range of motion. So you want to see how far your legs can spread apart comfortably with you still having control. And don't worry, I know I'm explaining all of this, but I'm definitely going to make time so that you can see these in action. Stretching your back and aligning your back is very important when we are talking about natural labor and we're talking about labor. Of course, a straight path is easier than a curved one. And so with our body, we're using the beautiful natural curvature of our bodies to soften the cervix. And so that's what whining is about. And that's what the circular motions are about that I keep mentioning. It's because I am envisioning, and I would like you to join me, envision the head of the beautiful baby onto that cervix, and it's smoothing and thinning the cervix out, which is the opening to life. And that is how our babies come earthside. They slide through. And so we want to think about endurance. How long will it take? Is my body going to be open enough? And am I comfortable in the changes within my body? Because your pelvis is going to expand. So we are talking about bone shifting and ligament shifting and muscles moving. And so if we practice and get our bodies used to it, and we then I definitely think we will be well prepared for birth. When in these positions, please once again consider your knees. It's a simple, I keep mentioning knees because time after time women begin complaining about their knees, and they're in a comfortable position, and labor is progressing and they're in a beautiful position and they don't want to move, but they have to because their knees start to get sore. So we definitely, if mom has a rhythm and she's digging a position, we want her to go ahead and be comfortable to stay in that position. So here's the fun part of the fun part. All of this, I hope you have enjoyed, and I hope so far you've learned a little something. But this is what I was talking about. So this is a picture of our beautiful pelvis and our beautiful baby. And as you can see, this I would be considered the womb. And so I am delivering, I'm letting go, I'm the placenta, I'm letting go of the baby. And as you can see, one of my partners, she is a birth doula as well, Gabrielle, out of Urban Birth Goddess. She is assisting me as we explain the expulsion of a child. And so at the bottom, when you're circulating your hips and you're rotating your hips, your baby's head continues to rub against the cervix. And so you can't see the cervix right now because, of course, we're in, this is just the bone structure. If we had the muscular structure, I'd be able to show you the cervix. But I will be dropping beautiful videos right now that explain. And so the further and the more that we're rotating with our head and the cervix is opening, the faster and the easier baby can slide out. As you can see, this is what happens once we've done a good job. Our hips are able to expand, and as you can see where the baby's head lies. So this is our goal. This is why we work so hard to get right here, and she is almost done. She probably reached the ring of fire, and the next 2 to 3 pushes, baby should be delivered. So as you can see, this is a beautiful training that I was able to take part of and host. The facilitator was Kania Lawson. Thank you so much for coming. And she did a beautiful birth doula training where we went over comfort measures. So as you can see, I'm using the birthing ball or exercise ball. And what's under my knees? A pad. And so you can get those at your local sports store for like $2. but they're definitely a good investment because this is one of the more comfortable positions while in labor. On my right, I definitely have another doula sister, Miss LaRae, and she is expecting, again, congratulations, and baby should be here soon, but we are showing a squatted position and with support. So if you don't have a wall or you don't have a couch, and of course during labor, I definitely would not recommend anyone squatting by themselves. We definitely want you to have support, whether if you need to be laid down on the ground for a second or sat down on the ground, or if you would like to be to stand up. It's very good to have someone there to communicate what your desires are. In the picture on the left, we have Miss Tamikis, who's standing up, showing how we would give our back massages. And so Nakia Lawson, that is the instructor of the training, she definitely showed us and enjoyed showing us how she would receive a back massage. Please take note of where the position of her legs are. If she were to have a 9-month baked baby within, she left enough room for her to be able to still have a good range of motion and not squish her stomach. And Tamikis is doing a beautiful job at locating and focusing on her sacrum, and that is the area in which she would need to focus in order to relieve that pressure. So we're almost in the area where I'm going to stand up and show us some beautiful range of motion about everything I've been talking about so that it kind of comes to life. But my best technique, what gives the most relief I see and what I was taught is tennis balls and baseball socks. If you have about 3 tennis balls, you want to put in a baseball sock, you want to put them inside of your baseball sock, tie up the end, and you would use that to roll. And as you can see on the right bottom corner, that's what Tamikis is doing, and it relieves pressure. That pressure is what women will talk about. The more pressure that you feel, the closer the baby is here and the faster that you can get relief. And here we have hot, cold herbs, oils, and oodles of fun. All right, oodles of fun. So what temperature do you prefer? Right now, if you have cramps and you're going through your menstrual cycle, what type of temperature do you prefer? Do you enjoy heat? Do you enjoy cool pads? Because those are some awesome ways to use comfort measures when you're thinking of heating up towels or cool towels. So if it's cool, that usually takes care of nausea. So sometimes during labor or within our menstrual cycles, we sometimes come across nausea, and a good way to get rid of nausea is to take a cold towel and put it up under your throat. For heating and for cramps and for pressure during labor, definitely heated pads usually works the best. But once again, it's up to mom and how she's feeling at that moment. Tea and tinctures. So different herbs address different ailments. Like I said, sometimes we deal with nausea during labor, and prior to conception, when we're in preconception and we're thinking about herbs, it's really, really good to use herbs for vaginal steams, like Sister Ajay shared with us last week. So I definitely would recommend moms doing vaginal steams, but also using aromatherapy. So while we're doing these exercises, while we are visualizing labor, while we're building up our endurance within our thighs, and we're building up our endurance within our hips, and we're stretching ligaments that we usually don't pay attention to, how will you stay relaxed? So it's all about staying relaxed, because even though we're going to be putting our body under a lot of stress and endurance, when we're building up endurance, we still want to have a relaxed mind, because we want to be able to go with the flow of the surges. And so different aromatherapy, different essential oils like frankincense, lavender, chamomile, different citrusy, like grapefruit. Those are great tools as far as aromatherapy is concerned, that you can use while you're exercising, so that you can practice controlling parts of the experience. But once again, labor is different for everyone. But we definitely want to set ourselves up for the best possible chance we can have natural birth. Massages. Once again, massages are very, very useful. After you do a workout, if you're already very vigorous within your workouts and you do squats and you run and you do all of that, step up your massage game. Definitely learn to massage yourself. That's a technique of self-care that I promote with my clients. Once you get into your bath, and I hope that you guys are taking spiritual baths, and that just means a bath where you can let go of the day's stresses with candles. Go ahead and decorate your area, but definitely massage yourself. Use essential oils, once again, because we want to get those triggers that help us adapt and remember and use muscle memory so that we can combat labor. Because once again, we are coming from a place of strength because this is a natural process. Meditation is beautiful to prep. We are preparing our bodies, visualizing our movements, practicing, once again, those comfort measures. We definitely want to think about it in a holistic fashion. Group humming. I know this is usually something that I've never heard the term, but I'm going to coin it because it assisted in my labor. And so I definitely want, and I think it's helpful when you're in a very vulnerable place like labor. We are comfortable, but until you're in that experience, you don't know how certain people are going to react. Birth moms have a beautiful song, and each song sounds differently. And so what assists sometimes is if there is a large group, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, you may have uncles, you may have aunties, it's all up to you. But to hum with her, to catch her rhythm on each, when she's having contractions, when she's having surges, and singing with her. Some moms may like it, some moms may not, but personally for me, it definitely assisted. And so once again, when you're moving in these comfort measures and you're practicing this, please visualize and go ahead and start humming to yourself and see what your rhythm might be like, see what you may sound like, so that when it happens, you don't become self-conscious and you're very comfortable and confident in what you need to do in order to process through labor. So card games, walking, dancing, and singing. Enjoy yourself, and you can enjoy yourself during labor. As soon as your contractions start, let's definitely remember that we're prepared. Let's remember that we have given ourselves the tools that we need to accomplish a beautiful and natural birth. And let's remember that there's no need to stress because it is a natural process and you are well equipped and you have everything that you need inside. And so I recommend in the early stages of labor, card games. Card games where you're sitting on the ball and you're swaying your hips. Walking, where you're walking and you're squatting, or maybe you're stopping and maybe you're able to do a lunge and you want to stretch. Dancing, where you're turning on some music at the early stage of labor and you're dancing the baby out. And then singing, once again, it's a vibratory exercise. And so singing and humming, and all of a deep hum, especially in a tone like that physically opens your pelvis. And so we have so many tools that we have access to use just within yourself when you are preparing for labor, when you're in labor, and also after, immediately after labor, to take care of. So before I move this table in front of me and go through a few of those positions, I'd like you guys to remember that these are self-care tools that you should be putting to use in order to combat the triggers and stressful stimuli that we deal with each day. Remember to be good to yourself. And I am going to stop screen sharing. Hi guys, kind of shiny there. It's my shea butter. If you'll excuse me. Can you see me well?
We can see you, yes.
I'm shining out a glare right here too, but we're gonna work on some things. So here we go. So the first exercise that I would like to show you guys is the squat, because I think this is the most important. And so, like I said, you see I'm sitting on the couch, just got off a brand new day, and I'm just going to slide down. Slide down. I'm going to try to reach my bottom to the floor. And right now, as you see, I'm not. But I feel stretched. Right. So the inner part of your legs is where you're trying to stretch, and you're trying to push your bottom down. And so when you're doing that, you should also feel pulls in the back. There you go. Like, come on, join me. Yes.
Trying to get down here. Woo!
Yes. 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 And so it's slight. It's slight. You can also assist by pulling your knees in. You're going to pull your knees down, and it's pressing your bottom down. Yes. And then feel your range. If you feel it, let me know something. If you feel something. Yes.
Wait, question. So is my back touching the back of the couch?
Or? You're completely, yes. That's why you have to use support, because it's not so much the squat itself. You want to just open it. And the only way you can open is by breathing, your deep breathing, and by time. So you have to see where your limit is, and you have to see how much, you see what I'm saying, your range of motion, how wide your legs get. Because that comes into play, because your perineum, we're not going to get that close, you guys, but your perineum is located right here. And so this is what that's stretching. And so ideally, when you do this, I would have had a bath, you know, we would have had some candles lit, and then you would get your massage oil, olive oil, or coconut oil, and you would have your partner rub your perineum. You see what I'm saying? This is while you're pregnant. But you're stretching it. So right now, take into account your legs. If your knees are uncomfortable right now, this is something that you'll think about. If your back is uncomfortable right now, this is something to think about. And then also remember that we're not going to go straight down once we have a baby in our belly. So that's going to change as well. So it's starting from before we're pregnant. I want to be as flexible as possible. I want to be able to move. When I was talking about hip moving, from here, can my hips move?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is it comfortable? Can I do this? That's what you're saying. Is this position right for me? Gonna go grab my birthing ball. Give me 1 second. Yes.
How exciting.
So here we go. So a birthing ball. So I'm doing this without support. So this is, I'm not pregnant. I recommend if you are with child that you definitely want to have support with you, whether that be a couch that's right behind you or a partner that's holding you. You can see me, I was reaching up, but a partner that's holding you. And so when you're on the ball, this is considered swaying.
Okay.
Okay, so if you can see my feet, I'm going to get wider with my feet, right? And I'm going to go to the left and the right. Sorry, my goodness. Ooh. There we go. And so you want to move your hips. Yes.
Would this be good to do even without a ball? Like if does this do anything for me?
Absolutely. That does everything for you. That was next. That was next. If you're done with the ball and that's uncomfortable and you have a good range of motion, these are good as well.
Okay.
It's just stretching your hips.
Okay. So hip openers. Okay.
Hip opener. That's all we really want. We want hip opening, and then I'll show you whining, and I think we'll be good. So whining. Look. Excuse me. Yes. Is this a good? You want to squat down. Squat down a little bit so that you feel tension within your thighs, and you want to be able to do a full circle. So if you would think about it, think about a straight rod going from the top of your head and coming out through your womb. And you want to make a perfect circle underneath yourself. That's what you want to have happen. And so you want to go to the left and the right, because this beautiful movement is what definitely will assist you in opening that cervix. That's what we want. So when labor stops progressing and, you know, everybody's trying to tell you that you need to do something as simple as those hip rolls will allow the baby's head to wear and tear and thin out that beautiful cervix and slide out. So that means less pushing, less stress, less weight, and it allows your perineum that time to expand so that we don't rip and we don't tear and we avoid any other type of intervention. So I ended early. Let's see what else. Do you want to do knees real quick?
You the who?
Hands and knees.
Sure.
Yes, so we'll do hands and knees. So hands and knees. Yes, you can see me. So hands and knees.
Okay.
You're going to contract. You're gonna contract your back and get a nice gruesome hump. Then you're gonna flatten it out like a cat and try to arch. And then you're gonna do it again and really focus once again on your hips coming forward. It's more of your hips. And then facing your hips back out, straight up. Yes. And so you should feel stretches within your back and your bottom.
Okay. So I've got a few questions.
Please ask, please.
Okay. I'll just stay down here on the floor. It's fine. Okay. So, alrighty. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, you guys, I'm traveling. So, I'm doing this literally on the road.
Okay.
Yeah. Baby Fabulous is going to require me to have a location-independent lifestyle. So, we're putting it to the test.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. So, just a couple of things in my notes. Look, I'm a student. I try to tell everybody I like to know what's happening.
Yes.
So, and I've heard of this whole the tearing of the perineum. What do you call it? What's the word?
So the tearing is a term in itself. That means mom naturally teared. She was pushing, her baby was coming through, and there was a natural tear or laceration. Episiotomy is when an obstetrician decides or a midwife to go ahead and cut.
Okay.
I've never personally heard of a midwife exercising this. They're more into massaging the perineum and guiding the baby out naturally. But obstetricians have a very, very nasty habit right now of going ahead and saying, you know, it looks, we're just going to go ahead and cut. Or, you know, baby's right here. I can feel baby right here. And it makes sense in a quick business fashion type of mindset. But as far as naturally and healing, it doesn't need to be that trauma. So episiotomies, we definitely want to send that message out there that they can be prevented and they're not necessary. And it is better to naturally tear because that laceration, it may be a tiny bit. An episiotomy, they're going to cut you from the rooter to the tuba without just being frank. So that literally cuts from the bottom of the vagina to the anal or to the rectal hole.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So
I've heard about, for example, that it's important for women when they're in the last stages of pregnancy to eat certain foods to also help with this kind of moisturization. What is that about? Is that true? Is that what? Should I eat a lot of coconut oil? Like, just like, what am I doing?
Throughout your pregnancy, I would just recommend to have a plant-based diet because it's shown that that assists with everything within our body. As far as a specific food for that specific purpose, not to my knowledge.
Okay. I'm thinking like keeping my skin moisturized, right? And like the good fats. So like your avocados, your coconut, things that kind of keep you nice and juicy anyway.
Nuts, your nut gang, cashews are really, 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 really good. Mind as well. Do your cashews, your sunflower seeds. You need a lot of folic acid still. Almonds are really good, but watch out with almonds because they're high in fats, and depending on how your hormones are distributed within your body, it can jump your sugar. So it's something we don't necessarily think about when we're just thinking about snacks. And you're thinking of almonds, try to lay back on the almonds and increase cashews. Cashews are great on your mood as well. So yes, yes.
We get some cashew action.
Yes, they are. I would recommend avoiding dairy, because at the end of it, you need a certain bacteria within your vaginal opening. That bacteria is natural, and it actually shields babies from many of the nasty bacteria that they're going to encounter when they first come out. So I know that we're here in Western medicine, we are used to the antibiotics that are the antibiotic ointment that's put in babies' eyes. But mom already has a natural factory down there with her flora and fauna. So lessening milk allows milk, dairy, butter, cheese. It allows the body to naturally produce what it needs to for that time. So that's more of what I like to let moms know. So that's why I recommend a plant-based diet, of course, and then less dairy, because we want to make sure that our pH is perfectly balanced for babies welcoming.
And that reminds me of last week when Sister Ajay was sharing about why it's important to do pH testing. Yeah. And so you said you're going to post some videos in the group, right?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Okay, yes. Wonderful.
I recommend that. Yes, so sorry. The pH testing, especially if you're doing home births, that whole 9th month to see where you're at, where your pH level is, especially if you are considered strep B positive and you're in that category, you still can have home births. And so the wonders of urine and the wonders of testing and just paying attention to what our bodies are expelling definitely can put us at an advantage.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. We in early with good information. We want to be succinct and powerful.
And I hope you love the videos. You're going to see it, and I'll flood that way. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like VIP treatment for those that are in the group. So yes.
And so my question: if someone wants to get in communication with you, maybe give a consult, talk with you, what's the best way to reach you?
To visit my website, which is www.akilahshahid.com, and that's AKILAHSHAHEED as in dog, akilahshahid.com. That's my website. I am accessible through Facebook as well, and on Instagram I am seed.wild, but you can find me with my name, Akilah Shahid, as well. So yes, thank you so much.
Awesome. So is this your last minute chance to drop any little nugget?
My nugget would be that remember that everything flows. Women are naturally sensual and graceful and beautiful. And so our movements reflect, our purpose in life, what we're up to, what we're doing, and how our mindsets are. Sorry, they're deciding to do work outside, but yes, but just be good to yourself. That my last slide, I think I said it in there, these are self-tools. Preparing for a child, I think we should take our self-care just as seriously. And so when we're thinking about that, it's just thinking about how can I take care of myself, a little bit better? Have I been treating myself as good as I deserve? And so that's just what I think need to continue. And if we are, then we're comfortable in our movements. Our body is tuned and aligned for what's to come. And what's to come is beautiful babies. Like Baby Fabulous.
Baby Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Definitely looking forward to the videos and our next time together.
Yes.
All right, folks. Well, goodness, but we have had the pleasure of having the beautiful and oh so knowledgeable and talented doula extraordinaire Akilah Shahid with us today in the Fertility Family Live. one of the things I'm going to say I'm taking away from this is the idea of feminine movement, and in particular, a couple of different practices that I want to just talk about, both yoga as well as belly dancing. So I am a certified Basu, which is a practitioner of Egyptian yoga. And I've been a yoga practicer, a yogini, as it were. It's hard to believe it's been 23 years. I took my first yoga class as a sophomore in college back in 1995. Yeah, 95. And I fell in love with the practice then because of the meditative aspects of it and how it made me feel and be able to relax. And so I love it. And I finally became an instructor a few years ago. And then of course, belly dancing and any sort of, I'll tell you, feminine dance. But I wanted to point something out. And if you want to weigh in on this, please feel free, Fabulous. Because we talked about the hip rolling and the whining, which you definitely see in belly dancing. And then in the dance, I teach belly dance. I call mine belly groove. But then I also teach like striptease, pole dancing, a lot of exotic dance. But I wanted to just have you speak to the distinction between whining and twerking.
Oh. So twerking, I would consider a more, I mean, we can call it what is ancient practice, because we definitely see a lot of tribal women that have strong maternal practices and rituals. They definitely twerk. It goes along also with the drum beats and the beat of the drums, because that's traditionally the music that we danced to as women of African descent. Whining came around more within the Caribbean area. And so you can consider that maybe our second stop or the second phase of feminine movement. Both are beneficial. What we're doing right now with twerking, and one of my young sisters right now holds a class that's called Free the Cheeks. And so I think it's something that's starting to come back out. We are dancing and we're moving. Twerking, which is more jerking and more of the bottom and your actual butt movements. Whining is more focused on your hips, and it's more circular. And so twerking can just moving, it is like your butt cheek isolation. Like there is a technique to it. Like there, you know what I'm saying? Like there are certain movements that distinguish it. And whining, once again, is more, it's more circular, and you're more of up and down. Twerking, you could be all over the place. You can twerk with your legs up on the wall. You can twerk with your legs on the ground. You know what I'm saying? And so whining, I mean, I've seen beautiful women are able to whine on their heads as well. So I can't do that just yet, but
we're going to get there, girl. We're going to get there. We're going to practice our headstands and yoga, and then that's going to be the event. Are there benefits for prepping for baby with twerking?
Yes, there is something that happens to a woman who has not necessarily been able to express her body freely. There is something about that movement. It takes over dominance. I've been reading a lot about different energy exchanges and different movements, masculine and feminine. And so the movement of your hips, there's actually a direction. If you're moving it to the left, and that's more masculine energy, and then to the right. So for me, it's about power. Once a woman is able to recognize the power within her and recognize it within her body, and that may come from, I cannot move my left butt cheek. I can't have no control on this certain area of my body. That goes a long way when you're talking about the process of labor and conceiving a child and carrying a child. You know, how do you think about your body, and what do you have control of within your body? And so I definitely think that's a benefit. Haven't been able to pinpoint just yet. From moms that I see, you know, that definitely go in the class like this and then are out and are like, you know what, I'm comfortable, are definitely way more comfortable during labor. And it's way easier to get them to come on, bear down and open up, and, you know, versus, okay, and I'm still worried about, you know, what you're kind of thinking, and I'm still worrying about when she's in her zone and she's in her rhythm and she hits those delta waves, she can do it. So,
awesome. Yeah. Thank you. I'll just share a little bit about it. So when we talked about, for me, my perspective and from my background, inside of my dance program, Diva Dance and Diva Dance Therapy, we started off with just Diva Dance lessons. And it's interesting because when I started the feminine movement, it started with pole dancing as something just really popular. People were interested in pole dancing, and a friend of mine was like, "Oh, I'm gonna learn to pole dance. You should teach it." And I'm like, "I don't know anything about pole dancing." And I associate with the strip club. This is back in 2005, and at the time, though, I've been a fitness instructor for years, and I just love dancing. I was already taking belly dancing classes. I love dance, all kinds of dance, modern dance, ballroom dance, all kinds of dance. I love dance. So the reactions I was getting from women when I was kind of doing some test marketing, like getting some feedback, focus groups, I was like, okay, this is hot. And I saw it from a fitness point of view. This is a way to get my sisters moving, because particularly in the Black community, a lot of women are not exercising. So that's how I kind of got into it. But once I got into it, knowing I knew very little about exotic dance at the time, I actually worked with some ex-exotic dancers, some classically trained dancers, and we developed exoticize. And we ended up with different class styles. All right. So as we began to study it, I realized there's different levels, or there's different aspects to it, I will say. So our Fit Tease class, lots of hip rolling, but it's very sensual and sexual. Oh, I'm feeling my right. And then we had our lap dance class, which I call lap dancing. Is we said that the strip tease is more in the flirty kind of flirty seductive, where the energy of like lap dancing, even pole dancing, it's a little more powerful. What I mean by powerful, you think about it, if you're really giving a real lap dance, you're really up close and personal on whoever you're dancing on, right? And it's a very it's powerful. Pole dancing requires a lot of strength to be able to really work that pole, do the tricks. You're talking core strength, upper body strength, which typically women, don't cultivate. Yeah. And then belly dancing, it's very liquid and smooth. I call it like goddess energy. Okay, it's so like, it's very graceful. It's beautiful. It's liquid. It's watery. But then we created, honey, Video Vixen. And that was where you would see the twerking, some more of the more staccato movements. It had elements of hip hop, or it has, it's not like it's gone away, but elements of hip hop. And it's a totally different energy. It's now I say this, people sometimes get confused, and I say it's more of a masculine energy. But what I mean by that, like you said, it's power. Understanding that we're balanced. We need to be balanced, because what it's going to take to push a baby out, honey, it's going to take some power. I'm very good on that. So the twerking now, but I'll tell you, like in belly dance, as you move closer to your due date, as you're more and more pregnant, we're going to do less of the jerky movements, and we're going to be more in the flowy. But in terms of preparation for baby, I would encourage ladies, I would encourage you to explore all types of feminine movement. And when I got started in this, I actually had to confront a lot of my own hangups around my sexuality. I remember when I took my first African dance class, and they had me legs spread wide, twisting my hips. I was like, whoa! Yes. And lo and behold, many moons later, as I've had my own sensual liberation, as I call it, becoming a virtuous vixen, owning it, loving it, honey. If I want to get out there and twerk and pop and drop, I get to do it, but I also get to do it on my terms, which means it doesn't give anyone permission to get up on me, right? And to create boundaries. So it can be very powerful, but I also want to encourage us to be careful with it, meaning if you want to twerk, it doesn't mean that you're inviting anything other than your own self-expression, but also be aware of what it can communicate. So I say just be aware.
Know how to respond, not react.
Yes, yes. But yeah, for twerking, great. And I'll tell you, the stance that you tend to be in when you're twerking, it's going to really help strengthen your legs. It's really great. And then I remember one of my belly dance when I was at a intensive weekend, and she would take us down to the ground, baby, with those cheek isolations.
Tell you.
It's wonderful. So getting those hips open, fluidity, yeah, it all works, and it's so much fun. This prep work can be so much fun. Go to yoga class, work on your lotus, do some headstands,
Yes.
so we can wind upside
Yes.
down. What?
Yes.
Have fun with this. I want us to just remember this is all designed to be fun, particularly for my divas who may be struggling to conceive. Consider that sometimes what can be in the way can be emotional or mental blocks, spiritual blocks. And so sometimes with dance and movement, you can let some things go, honey. Free up whatever is in the way of you conceiving. You might be able to do that with some twerking and some popping and some winding and rolling, some stretching, breathing. So take it on, and you're gonna feel better and you're gonna look good anyway. So I mean, you really can't lose. All right. With that, this brings this week's Fertility Family Live to a close. Remember, if you're watching the replay, we love to have you with us live. If you join the Fertility Family group, then you can join us. You can add comments, you can chat, you can ask questions right as we're talking, and we would love to have you. So we're in the launch phase right now. Really easy to join. And if you have any questions, you can always just join our mailing list or shoot us a message. Until the next time, I say be well, be fabulous, and we'll see you guys in a week. Bye.